Hey there, Carrie Clark here with Speech and Language Kids and the SLP Solution. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to use the cycles approach for phonological therapy. So, the cycles approach is an approach that was created by Hodson, and I don't remember the year that was published, but it's a very structured approach that cycles through working on different speech problems. And the whole program is very structured. It's very laid out exactly how you're supposed to do each session and how long to do each one. I'm just going to give you a brief overview right now, just so you kind of understand. But then we have more information over on our website if you go to speechandlanguagekids.com. So, this approach is particularly good for children who are very unintelligible. So, children where you really cannot hear or understand what they're saying much at all because they have so many different speech problems going on, so many different speech errors. So, specifically, we talk about phonological errors, which is when they have trouble with a whole group of sounds. So, maybe instead of all the sounds at the back of the mouth, like K and G, they put those at the front, like T and D, or vice versa. They put all the front ones to the back. So that's where you're taking a whole class of sounds and switching them out for a different class. So that's phonological problems. So the cycles approach is really great for children who have a lot of different phonological processes going on, because what we're going to do is we're going to cycle through. We're going to work on this one for a few weeks, and then this one on for a few weeks, and this one for a few weeks. And what that does is it more closely mirrors how children typically develop language. They don't typically sit down and work on one sound or one class of sounds over and over until they master it and then start the next one. They're kind of developing all of them at once. So, if you have a client who you are working with who has a lot of different processes, a lot of different speech errors, this is an approach that might be helpful. So, the 3 steps to the cycles approach, the first one is you're going to choose 3 to 6 processes or sound errors and to start with. Now, in the Hodson approach, they recommend you start with the ones that are most stimulable so they can make faster progress and be more intelligible more quickly. So maybe you go through and you say, okay, we've got some fronting where they're taking back sounds to the front. We've got some final consonant deletion, and we have, errors on P and B. Okay, so maybe we're picking those as our 3 processes / errors. They don't all have to be a full phonological process to start with. Okay, so that's step 1 then. Step 1 is to choose 3 to 6 of those processes to start with. Step 2 is you're going to work on the first one for a few weeks. Now, the Hodson Cycles approach has it laid out what you do each session. Just generally, though, it's going to include auditory bombardment, where you're going to use that sound or that class of sounds over and over while you're speaking to the child. So maybe you're reading word lists or you're playing a game where there's lots of repetition of that sound. And then you're going to introduce 3 to 5 words that include this target. And you're going to practice just those 3 to 5 words over and over and over and over and over in that session. And then I think you end with auditory bombardment again. But again, the whole layout is over on our website. Excuse me. So you do that for a few weeks on the same target. So let's say final consonant deletion. So you're really hitting final consonants hard for a couple weeks. And then step 3 is to switch to the next process. Even though they didn't master it during the first one, we're still switching to the next one after a few weeks and doing the same thing with the next one. And then a few weeks later, we switch to the third and do the same. And then we start back over. We go back to the first one, work on that for a few weeks. Now, the key here when you're doing any kind of approach is you want to make sure you're collecting really good data so that you can tell if it's working or not. Sometimes we start with a cycles approach. We go through maybe 3 cycles of each, and we go, this isn't working. This child is not responding to this approach. And if we have been taking good data, then we know that. So then we can say, you know what, let's switch to a traditional phonological approach and just target this one process for a while and see if we can make progress with that. Or maybe you say, I feel like an articulation approach might be better to try for this child. So there's no magic right answer. There's no saying cycles approach is the end all be all. But if you're taking good data, then you can tell what's working and what's not working. There's a bug, what's working and what's not working, and then you can switch as needed. All right, so that's the cycles approach. Again, you can head over to our website. There should be a link below this video, and that will take you over to our website to see all of the resources we have for the cycles approach and all of the other speech approaches as well. All right, thanks so much for watching, and catch us next time on Speech and Language Kids. Thanks.